Now, the mask has finally slipped off Senator Kamala Harris. Now, this is during a recent big donor fundraiser. So now, this fundraiser, of course, follows a big slip in the polls after the recent Democratic debates. And after that, Harris has decided she would shed all progressivism and reveal what she really stands for. So, what am I referring to? This is a report in Bloomberg. On Sunday night, Harris attended a big money fundraiser in the Hamptons. Oh, fancy. So now Bloomberg's reporters kind of set the scene, and I love their description of this. He said, Teslas and Maseratis lined the street as Kamala Harris greeted guests, sipping drinks from plastic cups with her name on them, and eating cinnamon sugar donuts from reasons at a fundraiser hosted by movie executive Jamie Petrikov and his wife Kelly. By the way, cinnamon sugar donuts sound amazing. Kind of hungry right now, but anyway. Um, During that event, she said some important things. Now, one of them is that it turns out that she's not exactly in favor of Medicare for all. According to comments provided to the Daily Beast for the Harris campaign, the senator told donors that Sanders' bill was one of a number of good ideas that she had signed on to over the years. But what she told the donors was, I support Medicare for all. However, she added, but as you may have noticed, over the course of the many months, I've not been comfortable with Bernie's plan, the Medicare for all plan. So now how can you say, I support Medicare for all, and then say, ooh, but the one plan that we have out that's actually Medicare for all, I'm uncomfortable with that. So now Bernie's plan, again, is Medicare for all, is expanding Medicare and making it a single payer healthcare system. So what it does is that it covers a wider range of things than traditional Medicare, of course, and bans duplicative coverage, basically minimizing or essentially eliminating the role of health insurance companies. That's what single payer is. The government is the only payer, not provider of healthcare, but it's basically the only insurer. There's no insurance market, no private insurance market. It's just the government is your insurer. It pays the hospitals and it pays the doctors from money collected from your taxes. Simple, right? And it's actually a much more simpler system. And because it's more simple, it's actually more efficient and therefore cheaper. So it has power to negotiate with doctors. It has the power to negotiate with hospitals and pharmaceutical companies. That's how it's cheaper. And it has no overhead or very little overhead, no advertising budget, nothing, no executive bonuses, nothing. Your money goes to your care, and that's it. It's an incredibly efficient system. So now, if you are not for single payer, then you're not for the best option when it comes to healthcare. And no, so Kamala Harris says, I'm not for the best option. I'm for Medicare for all, but not Medicare for all. Okay, so let's explain, right? So now, establishment politicians, this is what they're doing, right? They are doing this thing where you call something Medicare for all and have it not be single payer, where it's actually still a multi-payer system or a public option. So their plan is we're going to have Medicare and we're going to have private insurance. And what we're going to do is we're going to allow Medicare to open up if you want to buy in. So you can buy into Medicare. Technically, anyone can. So it's Medicare for all if you want it. Now, that doesn't actually solve the fundamental problems in our for-profit healthcare system. As Ron Placone always loves to say, it's basically putting a Band-Aid on a broken arm or a bandage on a gushing wound. So that, again, that's not going to fix the problems of prices being too high. And it's also prone to politicians who get money from the health insurance industry voting to water it down. And that's sort of the biggest problem. That's the long-term issue with the public option system, is that you are going to have corrupt politicians that are saying, well, since we have these private insurance companies and we still get donations from these companies because they're still around, we're going to make sure they don't cover as much. And we're going to lessen the coverage as time goes by so that people, instead of buying into the public option, will just go back to straight out insurance until the government is able to get rid of that public option. And we're back to square one, where we continue to dominate the conversation and we continue to dominate the marketplace and make more and more money. That's the ultimate goal of these insurance companies when they push for a public option. They see it as, oh, it's a temporary setback, but don't worry, we'll still be able to go around and get back to where we are in control and we are making all the profit. So that's the problem, right? And so what Kamala Harris and these other politicians are doing on healthcare that are proposing that system is basically co-opting the good name of Medicare for all in order to push the public option. But there's more. Not only did she say, I'm not in favor of Medicare for all or a single payer plan, which is what Bernie's plan is, which, by the way, she never really supported. She's been back and forth. Oh, no, I support Medicare for all. Oh, turns out, no, I'm also open to keeping private insurance, etc. Back and forth, right? So now at least she's more open about that. And I've got a quote here from her campaign on that. But not only is she waffling on that or finally says no on Medicare for all, she also backed out of a climate debate. So now the reason that she backed out of that climate debate is, you're going to be shocked, so she could go raise money from large donors. Harris, according to the article, was the only candidate of the 9 who reached the threshold to participate in a climate change centered forum on CNN. She's the only one to decline that invitation so far. She just said, not interested. No, I have a scheduling conflict. I actually need to go and raise money from large donors. So now, Sunrise Movement, who did a lot of great work pushing for this climate debate, and all the activists pushing for this climate debate, because it's one of the most, if not the most important thing, because nobody's going to be arguing about healthcare if we're all dead from the effects of climate change, right? So there is that. That is kind of important. Now, Sunrise Movement said in a tweet, we need a leader who prioritizes the future of humanity over rubbing elbows with millionaires and billionaires. Now, if that's the case, though, how would she make money if she didn't serve the interests of the rich and powerful? How is she going to make all that money? I mean, she's certainly not getting it from regular people. Majority of her donations actually do come from, at least her large donations, come from wealthy groups. So now, Harris has also received a lot of criticism from not only that decision, but the other decision as well, which launched her press secretary, Ian Sams, into spin mode. So now Sams on Twitter said this: she has her own healthcare plan. So yeah, not a secret she isn't running on Bernie's plan anymore, as we kind of figured she would do. Sams also told the Daily Beast that Harris was, quote, and the reason was hearing from lots of voters real concerns, specifically about proactively abolishing private insurance, the 4-year transition, middle-class tax hikes, and so she came up with her own plan to adjust for those for that. Frankly, is better than his. Oh no, her plan's better. Oh, because it keeps private insurance. Hey, that's like your opinion, man. My question for you is, who is it better for? Is it better for the big donors in the health insurance industry that would get wrecked by a single payer plan? Here's the reality, right? I know that there's this talking point that, centrists think they're so clever when they come up with this. Like, oh, people like their insurance company. Why would you ever want to get rid of their insurance company when people love it? No. Here's the thing. Nobody likes their insurance company. people like their doctors, people like their hospitals, right? Uh, at most, there are people out there that tolerate their insurance company, right? Especially, and I think the reason for that is that they haven't really had to use it in the way that some people or most people have, right? That don't like private insurance, and so let me kind of break that down a little bit more. So, the average, I guess, middle class family or upper middle class family who has private insurance, either through their work, they've got a decent work, employer sponsored plan, which, by the way, single payer would eliminate those employer sponsored plans, which would free up both the worker and the employer from needing private health insurance. So the worker would be able to go anywhere they want without having to worry about losing their health insurance if they lose their job or decide they want to go to a different job with different pay, etc. And the employer would save tons of money and maybe would funnel some of that money towards its workers if it's a workplace worth their salt, right? So there's that. But most people, either they have their employer sponsored plans and they're happy with it because their employer is a good employer that covers a majority of that. And we see less and less of that every day. But there are those good companies that do exist that pay a lot for their employer sponsored plan. And that's great for them. But for everybody else who doesn't have that, or who is underinsured, or who has had to ever deal with a health insurance company that wants to deny their claims, gets suddenly sick, etc., or is on a junk plan, well, they're not very happy with the insurance companies. And that's sort of the disconnect that we have. People who are okay with their insurance, either they haven't had to use it or they've got a good plan through work, versus everybody else. Those are the people who are like, oh, I don't know about Medicare for all. Oh, my taxes might go up. Yeah, but in reality, yes, taxes will go up a little bit. But think of the savings. No premiums, no copays or deductibles. That's a net savings. A more efficient program, which is Medicare, saves you money. It saves you money. And if you have that employer sponsor plan, it also saves your employer money if you're actually worried about that, which you may not be. And in this case, no argument is really going to help out unless you suddenly end up losing your job. So there's that. But look, anyway, again, most people are they like their doctor. And so this disingenuous argument against that and against Medicare for all, saying that people want to keep their middleman, essentially, that comes in, takes their money, and then takes even more money in premiums, copays, and deductibles, etc. So now you guys know how single payer works. You know why it's more efficient. Those of you who are paying attention, and so you know why it's actually ridiculous to not be in favor of a single payer plan. Now, as far as Kamala is concerned, the reason that she's not in favor of single payer is, of course, the people that she talked to are health insurance executives, the same people that she's raising money from. So this is who Kamala Harris is. I mean, this is her true face. She has been revealed. She has revealed herself to the world. She shows us that she not only works for her own economic interests, but also the interests of her donors. She's the same as any other establishment politician. And if you didn't know before, then that's okay. I understand. You guys are busy. But now that you've heard this report and you know the facts, well, now you can make an informed decision on whether or not you will still continue to support Kamala Harris over someone like a Bernie Sanders or Elizabeth Warren. Hey guys, hopefully you enjoyed that free video. Now I'm going to have to ask you a favor. Between the demonetization and the YouTube algorithm messing around with view counts, etc., we're having a hard time adjusting to the new YouTube reality, which is where you guys come in. See, we have a patreon.com/TYTNation, set up to help us rely on you guys, the viewers, instead of big corporate ads. Look, you know the show. You know I'm not in favor of big corporations anyway. So help us transition away from relying on the ad model to pay the bills and sign up to be a patron, patreon.com/TYTNation. That goes a long way to help us keep the lights on. And you guys will know that you're supporting independent progressive media.